Hi, I'm back. One of the questions that I'm consistently asked by friends and family and colleagues when I'm discussing TNI's transition to our platinum lifestyle in Panama is it really cost effective? Are you really going to be able to save money by making this move? Is it worth it? And I thought that the best way that I could really explain that is really by going through the process that I went through, that I took T through as we were kind of working through all these details. And so the first answer to the question is yes, it is cost effective for us based on our research and our exploration, and really kind of putting boots on the ground, so to speak, to really kind of feel the vibe and does this meet our needs? So that's one piece of it. The second piece of it is, okay, let's do the math, right? So what I'd like to do, instead of going through this exhaustive process that I went through, and I mean exhaustive, it took me months because I went step by step, every aspect of the transition, what it was going to cost, what we were going to get out of it, what we were going to lose out of it, things of that nature. And by the time I got to the end of it, I was very, very confident in our decision. But let me take you through that process, but I'll leave out really the complexity of it, like all the kind of the in the weeds kind of numbers. Let me just simplify it in this way. Let's take my principal and interest for the house that I live in now. Just that number. For those of you who are homeowners, you can probably appreciate this model. Principal and interest, set number. Let's throw a number out. Let's say 3,000. Now that's just for the mortgage on the home and the principal and interest and taxes and things that are associated with it. So there's that piece, right? But let's just take that number and then go through the process before we really get down into the weeds. Let's say the number's 3,000 over here on this side. Over here are the things that the principal and interest don't cover, right? So we're talking about utilities and the internet and cable and landscaping and housekeeping and the insurances for the cars, for the house, our health insurance, the cell phones, the travel expenses that are associated with the things that either we wanted to do for leisure or professionally. As I go to this event or I go to this conference, the same thing for tea. So principal and interest obviously doesn't cover all of that, but I pointed all these out for a reason. So just stay with me. When we went to Panama and we did the research on it, one of the things that we picked up on was we could live in a lifestyle that made the vision that we had attainable. We didn't have a need for a large house. We weren't really in the model of either spending a lot of time in it, A, or B, having a lot of visitors in and out. So we needed to reduce our size, but we still wanted to feel like we had room. So for us, we were looking at penthouses or condos there in the Panama City area. There were 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, and we found really a large range. But even the ones based on our preferences probably took us in the 1,800 to 2,500 range, right? But there were several options that were available in that $1,800, $1,900 range. Now, that's one piece of it, right? So, okay, now when you start adding up living arrangements based on the vision and the environment that you want to live in, Okay, there's a little bit of savings there. Obviously, if you're in a penthouse, there's not a whole lot of landscaping, things of that nature. There are some rentals that have uh, an expectation that you pay some of the, for lack of a better term, homeowners association fees, and there are some that do not. It's all included. But let's move on to, I don't know, let's say the utilities. Well, in a utilities for a house that's 3,000 to 5,000 square feet, you're going to expect to probably pay quite a bit. That number reduces dramatically when you start looking at, well, this is no longer a 4,800 square foot house. This is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath not even townhouse, really a condo or apartment. Obviously a smaller space that the utilities have to cover down. So it is a significant cost savings there. I would say as much as $200 to $300 less based on the season. Then you add in these other factors like car insurance, where here in Metro Atlanta, it's going to be very, very expensive. People run into each other. To say frequently is probably an understatement. So the car insurance, we averaged out that was about $250 to $300 a month loss. We could probably get car insurances for about, well, for one or two cars, somewhere between $100 to $150. Then you look at these other expenses that were really kind of associated with the travel that I mentioned or referenced earlier. Well, here in Metro Atlanta, if you're trying to get to the airport or you're trying to get to an event or you're trying to do something that doesn't require you where you don't want to drive or doesn't necessarily require that you bring a vehicle to the event, that's a little hard with Uber and Lyft and things of that nature because the distance is so great. I'll give you an example. We were going to the airport in the early morning hours and didn't want to park because parking is so expensive at the airport. And the ride in Uber was about $100. We're probably about 15, 20 miles from the airport, and it was about $100. Well, in Panama City, if I want to get across town, I get an Uber. That's same, an Uber ride across town is probably $6 or $7. We were downtown in Panama City when we were leaving from one of our visits, and just taking the Uber from the hotel to the airport, I think total was $20 something, something like that. That's a significant difference. Groceries as an example, you look at the situation with groceries there, and you really have to make a decision. Okay, do I want to still continue to buy the brands that I am familiar with back in the States, or am I willing to really kind of experience and immerse myself in the community and try brands that are similar products to the U.S. but just different names? And I find that if you're doing that, if you're going to the farmer's market to get your fresh produce, if you're going to the seafood market to get your fresh seafood, if you're going to butchers, ultimately it's way less expensive than from my experience here in Atlanta. As an example, I go to the DeKalb farmers market because I feel like they have some of the best produce and products around. And if I'm getting stuff for the week, I probably am going to come out of there 50, 60, $75. Just talking about produce, the talking fruits and vegetables, things like that. That number in Panama, or that figure, that cost figure in Panama is dollars, like less than, $10. You could probably walk out with the same amount of produce and vegetables. Seafood market is very, very similar as well. So cell phones there, $30 for a cell phone plan. Here, if you're trying to get everything that you think you might need, average cell phone bill is probably going to be $75 to $100. And if you have a business on top of your personal cell phone, then you're probably talking about $200 or better. So when you look at that from that perspective, at $100 as opposed to $30, if you look at principal and interest being $3,000, where now your health insurance is $400, but it still fits into that framework in terms of being able to add everything up on this column. It's coming out way more convenient, way less expensive living in Panama. So much so that, as I mentioned, housekeeping, here we have a housekeeper that, it's a decent sized house, but that everybody's gotta set their rates. We may have a housekeeper that's going to charge you $150, $200 to come in to clean the house. Well, if you have them in once a month, okay, that's $200. But what if you have them come in once a month, but then there's an event or you have company and then you bring them in again? Right now, you spent $400 or $500 just for 2 cleanings. A housekeeper in Panama, especially if you're talking about live-in, it's going to cost about $500 a month. Well, that's not somebody coming in 2 days a week, or 2 days in a month. That's somebody who's going to be there. They're living there. They're going to be there in the morning, based on whatever schedules you set up. They're going to be there to support you, not just do that house cleaning and go away. So again, savings, not only in terms of monetarily, but actually in your peace of mind too, because you have somebody that's there, understands your needs, and is taking care of those needs, which frees you up to do all the fun things that you want to do. So when you start looking at the one column that just was principal and interest at, say, $3,000, and then you look at another column that has these significantly reduced prices for the services that you were getting over there and a significantly reduced price for your living arrangements, that in itself, without really showing real figures, will tell you, yeah, it's a cost savings for us based on the vision that we had and the location that we identified in order to experience that vision. Some places were remarkably cheaper, but this didn't necessarily have all of the little subtleties that we were looking for in terms of still being close to the United States, in terms of the scene or the vibe in specific areas. This all added up to us that, yes, the math does add up. Now, when you look at just the math equation, as positive as that is, but that's one thing. But then to add to it, for us, the math added up because we were looking at how secure Panama is. Like, literally, we walked the streets day, we walked it at night. Everybody was friendly or minding their own business, but either way, there was no sense of drama, no sense of aggravation, no sense of tension. And that's really the peacefulness that you really almost can't put a price tag on. You add the consistent climate and the fact that, hey, they've had 18 major storms in all recorded weather history. Well, when you start doing the math, weather history has been over 100 years. There's only been 18 major storms. Well, you're talking about the unlikelihood of you really having to experience the same thing that we wait for and cross our fingers on every year here in the United States, especially for those of us that live in the southeast part of the U.S. along the eastern seaboard. But lately storms have even been getting worse and been creeping into the Midwest and into the Southwest. So I say all that to say this. At the end of the day, if you do your research and you actually apply a process to how you are really kind of balancing out, is this a benefit for us with relocating? Is this not a benefit based on the cost associated with it? If you do the exploration that's really necessary, because it's one thing to do the math and to do the research, which you can sit there and do at on your laptop or on your phone. But it's something completely different to get there, put boots on the ground, and try to live as close to an average citizen there, that you can really make a better determination. Okay, not only is this the right fit, not only is this cost effective, we've experienced it firsthand. The last thing that I would really, really caution you to do, and this is very, very important. We've learned this just in our interactions with all of the folks that really kind of assisted us with moving and getting documents prepared and answering questions. It's imperative that you find the right support system that benefits how you want to transition into that lifestyle. For us, I had done some research online and found a relocation tour that really kind of set us up. I didn't go on the tour itself, but I purchased their relocation guide, if you will, and that I found it to be very, very informative. Well, it also provided contacts for driver, contacts for an attorney. So in Panama, as an example, you have to use an attorney in order to go through the residency process. All of these little kind of nuggets come from the support system, right? So if not, then I'm individually trying to find a driver to show us around. I'm individually trying to find an attorney to work through the residency. I'm individually trying to find a support system to find housekeeping services or to make all the utility connections and things of that nature. So it's very important to find a support mechanism. Earlier on, I was very, very fortunate because I already had an understanding of the apostille process, the documents that were necessary, and I had a network of folks all across the country, Michigan and Virginia and Georgia, and that really were able to ensure that documents got where they needed to go, that they were processed and that they were returned. If you don't have that, I highly encourage you to start researching to locate that. If you need assistance, by all means, reach out to the Expat Platinum brand and we will assist you all the way through providing really what is a platinum journey guide, if you will, that will walk you through the entire blueprint process of making a decision on where you want to research, traveling there, seeing it on the ground, making the final decision as to whether what location it is that you're most interested in, and then the process of actually obtaining the documents necessary to really request a visa or whatever the residency requirement is for that country. So the short answer is yes, the math does add up for us based on our vision of our lifestyle and the environment that we want to live that lifestyle in. I encourage you to do the same thing in your journey. Take the time to understand what it is exactly that you want to feel and experience. Understand the environment that you want to really kind of live that life in, and then start navigating your way through all the information that's available to determine what that platinum location is for you. I hope this was helpful. I hope this is something that you can use in your discussions with your loved ones about the possibility of being an expat, a possibility of being a digital nomad abroad. If there's anything that we can do for you in the future, I really hope that you reach out. But if not, and all you really want to hear is our journey, I invite you to subscribe to our channel, Amex Pet Platinum, and to subscribe to our social media channels, which is also Amex Pet Platinum on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and Best Life Blueprint, which is part of my wife's brand, who really includes also a travel agency component to it, as she is a travel agent. That's it for now. We'll talk to you soon.